It's time for Debrief, your quick wrap-up of TRT World's top stories from the week.
Okay.
Ya.
Çok pardon. Yayınlayayım, kapatıyoruz.
Tamam. Tamam.
Okay.
1:30.
We begin with the breaking news that US President Donald Trump has extended the ceasefire with Iran just hours before it was due to expire.
This is the moment Iran seized one of two cargo ships attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. A third vessel was fired upon. The White House says Iran seizing ships does not violate the ceasefire because the vessels are not aligned with US or Israeli interests.
And with the Strait of Hormuz still heavily restricted, the pressure is spilling over into other key trade routes. The Panama Canal is now seeing a surge in demand as buyers turn to US energy supplies instead.
US forces have seized a tanker in international waters, which they say was transporting oil from Iran. Footage released by the Pentagon shows US forces boarding the vessel named Majestic X in the Indian Ocean between Sri Lanka and Indonesia. To counter Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, US President Donald Trump has ordered the destruction of any Iranian boat caught laying mines. In a Truth Social post, he writes, "I've ordered the Navy to shoot and kill any boat that's putting mines in the waters."
Well, whether it's an escalation or not will depend on whether this threat is actually carried out, of course. Trump has been saying that these small boats are a threat for a while now because they're far more nimble than the bigger vessels, most of which are at the bottom of the sea.
Right now, we have it closed. We have total control of the strait.
State media in Iran, as well as Pakistani sources, have now confirmed Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will travel to Islamabad in the coming hours, and that there he will talk with the hosts. But Pakistan is also saying that there will be mediated talks with the Americans.
They always keep a tight lid on this information because they do not want to compromise their position.
This is part of a regional tour that will take the foreign minister to Islamabad, Muscat, and Moscow.
The president has decided to dispatch Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner back to Islamabad. The Iranians want to talk. They want to talk in person. And so the president is, as I've said many, many times to all of you, always willing to give diplomacy a chance.
The Israeli army says one of its soldiers has been killed and 9 others injured by an explosive device planted by Hezbollah. Separately, the Iran-backed armed group has denied involvement in a deadly ambush of UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon. A French soldier was killed and 3 others wounded on Saturday when they came under attack.
This is continuing to be a very fragile ceasefire, given that the Israeli military also has said that it's creating a yellow line, and any Lebanese approaches the yellow line, which is very similar to the yellow line Israel has imposed in the Gaza Strip, will be targeted.
The 10-day ceasefire has, yes, allowed some residents to return home, but for many others, the situation is still considered too precarious. It's left much of Lebanon's 1.2 million displaced people still unable to return home.
Significant barriers remain for others, and so they remain in places like Beirut, either in relatives' homes or in governmental shelters, or here in tents.
The situation is still difficult. God willing, we will return.
Currently, Israel occupies some 55 Lebanese villages.
Netanyahu has been under tremendous pressure domestically, especially from the tens of thousands of Israeli residents of northern Israel.
After weeks of fighting, many Israelis say the results fall short of what they were promised.
You promised us a complete victory. You promised us there would be no Hezbollah, that our children would no longer see shelters. Why have we been sitting in shelters for 50 days?
A photo circulating online showing an Israeli soldier smashing a statue of Jesus Christ in southern Lebanon has been verified by the Israeli military.
When I saw that they had knocked Christ to the ground, I felt as if the world had ended.
To Lebanon now, where at least 3 people have been killed in Israeli strikes on Wednesday. Hostilities continued as the delegations from both sides are preparing to attend the second round of talks that are scheduled for Thursday.
Our paramedics have recovered the body of Lebanese journalist Amal Khalil, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon.
President Donald Trump says the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon has been extended by 3 weeks.
President Trump is talking incredibly optimistically about bringing peace between Lebanon and Israel.
Israel has launched fresh airstrikes and artillery shelling in southern Lebanon just hours after the ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel was extended for another 3 weeks.
Here's the news in brief, where we bring you even more top stories.
Starting off in Europe, Ukraine finally gets the lifeline it needed. The EU formally approved a $106 billion loan to Kyiv on Thursday, after Hungary lifted its former Prime Minister Viktor Orban's months-long veto on Wednesday.
We have a strong and fundamental decision, and it's a decision of all the leaders, of the unanimity of EU. We are very thankful. The great progress today.
The EU's financial bailout will cover 2/3 of Ukraine's expenses for the next 2 years. The bulk of the loan will be used for the military budget, and nearly $40 billion will cover public services like education and healthcare.
Today is a good day for Ukraine and for Europe. You might recall, Volodymyr, that when I visited in February this year, I said that we will deliver on the 90 billion euro loan one way or the other. And today we deliver on this promise. I think that it is possible to have the first tranche of the 45 billion that are assigned for the year 2026 still this quarter.
Economists expected Ukraine to start running out of funds by June if the loan package had not been approved. In addition to its assistance to Kyiv, the EU also approved its 20th sanctions package against Russia on Thursday.
I should not have appointed Peter Mandelson. I take responsibility for that decision, and I apologise again.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in hot water again for his choice to appoint Peter Mandelson as ambassador to Washington. This time, the question isn't just that Mandelson had links to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, but that he was appointed despite failing a security vetting. Starmer sacked Mandelson back in September, and he now says he was not told Mandelson failed security checks.
Keir Starmer says the outcome could and should have been shared by the Foreign Office much sooner. The department's most senior civil servant is the latest to be thrown under the bus. Ollie Robbins is accused of overruling the vetting process and was sacked as a result.
Robbins confirmed to the parliament that the PM was not told about the clearance problem, but also that it was because Number 10 had a very strong expectation that Mandelson would be appointed as soon as possible.
They wanted all this done at pace and Mandelson in post before inauguration.
Despite mounting pressure and calls for resignation, the UK PM has so far held on to his position. But will it last? Over in Asia, Japan is switching up its pacifist stance. Tokyo has lifted its decades-old ban on exporting lethal weapons to foreign nations. New rules allow for the export of advanced systems such as missiles and fighter jets to strategic partners for the first time since World War II. Prime Minister Sanae Takeichi says this move is to boost Japan's defense industry, and the arms will go to nations complying with the UN Charter. And it's been a busy weekend for Turkey, as world leaders gathered for the 5th edition of Antalya Diplomacy Forum. From Middle East war to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, to Gaza's fragile ceasefire and Syria's future, this year's theme was Mapping the Future, Managing Uncertainties.
Standing here at the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, it's clear these crises are no longer being treated in isolation. From the Middle East to Ukraine, the space for direct dialogue is shrinking. Turkey is positioning itself right at the center of that effort, bringing key actors and decision makers together at a time when diplomacy is becoming harder to sustain.
And here's what it's like to cover the stories behind the scenes.
So we've been here this time around for about 3 weeks now. We came in through the Allenby crossing amid the war. Obviously, not the easiest process these days.
The psychological pressure on us after the wall was built has increased by the current political situation.
By physically dividing Palestinian towns and lands with barriers and illegal Israeli settlements, decades of peace efforts have already been undermined. With this particular story, planning is key, but it's also extremely difficult. A lot of the work that I've been doing or focusing on has been in the occupied West Bank, crossing the several checkpoints, the battling with traffic at those checkpoints, and if there's any kind of military activity or a raid or an attack by illegal settlers or something of that sort, what happens is a lot of these places, a lot of these routes would essentially be cut off, and that also means it's also cut off for us. We could even just get stuck on the other side and not be able to come back to East Jerusalem. So restrictions and movement in the occupied West Bank is incredible, and it changes almost. It's so unpredictable, it could change every hour. It's a very unusual scenario, but what this also means is, this isn't an unusual scenario for Palestinians to experience. So most Palestinians are very familiar with seeing journalists with tripods and teams and film crews and so on. Also because there is this massive number of Palestinian journalists who cover the ins and outs of the story for local media as well as international media every single day, even when it doesn't make the headlines in international channels like ours or like any other international channel. But it just goes to show that this is a society that's very familiar with the media climate, and they go to whatever extent that they can to support us. Lately, with the U.S. president's comments essentially taking, essentially kind of running the show, if you may, it's quite difficult for us to ensure appropriate airtime to these stories. There has been outcry, not only from Palestinian communities and Palestinian activists, but also coming from Israeli activists as well. And the story that we try to do is essentially encompass all of these issues into one story by showing how this is a daily reality.